welcome to the VAR show, the show which talks about all the various major football leagues detail. Today we are going to continue the theme of interviews, and we have Mr. Romeo Jozak with us, who is a very experienced and reputed coach. He has been coach of Kuwait and various other teams in the past, and a very known figure in Croatia in the Croatian footballing structure, and also generally all over the world. Because I had got a request about his books even in Nepal, so that means he's very well known all over. Because Nepal football is not maybe as famous as other sports. So yeah, nonetheless, first of all, I would like to thank Romeo for coming on the show. Thank you and welcome to the show. And I would like to begin by asking you, how are you, and like what have you been doing these days?
Thank you, first of all, for having me. I was surprised. I'm getting a lot of requests from all over the place, all over the world. And when I saw from Nepal, one of my games was against Nepal, right? When I was the head coach of Kuwait. And then it was a positive experience, let's put it this way, because we won the game in Kuwait, maybe a bit of a negative for you. But again, thank you for having me. I remember I met a lot of people from Nepal and Kuwait. A lot of people lived there. It was always a great experience, always a humble and gentle people, I must really say. So when I saw the your intention, your request to have an interview, I had a positive reply. Everything is fine in Croatia. Spring is slowly coming up. We had a lockdown. I just said we have some certain openings back up again. The life is getting back together. Numbers are slowly dropping down, but it's unpredictable, like all over the place. You know it yourself. So so far so good. Like luckily, thanks to God.
Definitely, and like yeah, I mean, it would have been unpleasant maybe for the Nepalese fans to see them lose, the team lose.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I wanted to get to you on a personal level. Like for you, how did you begin your journey with football?
I was a player myself. I was, let's say, in Croatia, we have a lot of talent, as people know, and I was one of the players in the youth. Played up until the age of 22, and then I twisted my ankle really badly, on and on and on, repeatedly. And at the age of 22, I was at that time on a third year of the college, working as on a bachelor's degree as a phys ed teacher. And then I thought to myself, I was doing quite well on the college, wanting to have ambition to actually do something in football. And as a player playing the first division, second division, wasn't on the top, but let's say close to the top, not enough to be making it on the top. And then I actually, put it down on a table, and I made a decision whether is the risk or to continue, how is it going to unfold, how is it going to go. And then at the age of 22, I started. Well, I finished playing, finished the university first, and then afterwards the masters, and afterwards the PhD. At the age of 27, I started coaching. First of all, as a young coach with the youth, and then well through all the age groups all around, and then slowly was picking up and climbing up the ladder, and finished where I am right now at the age of 40, 48. Have three kids, married, luckily, as I said, doing well. Right now, after Kuwait national team, the corona showed up, so I was taking it a bit easy. It wasn't rushing in. We'll see where the life's was gonna take me, but I really traveled the world around. As you probably know, I was a technical director of the Croatian Federation, was the sporting director of Dinamo Zagreb, academy director of one of the best academies, I think nowadays all around, Dinamo Zagreb Academy, that produced many players. So yeah, pretty active journey working in UEFA, FIFA, all around. Dynamic life. Soccer is a dynamic life.
Definitely, and like you touched on a lot of things, like being the sporting director at Dinamo and Zagreb, and even the technical director at Croatia. I had a list of questions which I'll get on to that maybe probably with time. And
Sure,
like
sure.
I wanted to ask you, like you touched on how you completed your PhD, and you generally don't see coaches being so well read in terms of doing a PhD. Like, was it something you always planned, or were you not sure? Okay, should I get into coaching or should I study?
No, I'll tell you, it's a true story. That's maybe how the moments in life sometimes go a different way, and you can't control them. Then later on in the future, you see, it should have been the way it was. I was always having the academic career, wanting to pursue that, wanting to go there. I always was looking for the explanation why we see something on the field, and then why is that? What happens in the body? What happens in the brain? What happens with the hormones? What happens with the entire mind, I just always wanted to have the explanation when I saw, it's easy. You know how they say it's easy. It's not a science to play soccer, to play football, but it's science to teach somebody to play football. That's and I just wanted to have all these explanations and wanted to go deeper and deeper in analysis. Let's say it wasn't too much of a struggle for me to finish the university as a bachelor degree. I got the assistantship, graduate assistantship for the master's degree in the United States. That's where I finished the part of it. I've been there for some time. Came back to Croatia, finished my master's, and here's the one story. My mentor at that time, I was doing the sports psychology. I had a degree in sports psychology and a master's degree. One day I was 31 or 32, and I was really, I was fed up with everything. I just couldn't, bear it anymore. I mean, even the life financially, it was a struggle. Wanting to have ambitions, kids came along, the life, how it is, you just want to do something, and then now you got to sit down on a table, kids crying on the side, you got to be watching the, reading the book and studying for the masters and stuff. So I came to the university, and that day, one of the two times in my life when I now, for the fact I know I gave up and I decided, listen, I don't want to continue. And I came to my mentor. She was the PhD from the sports psychology, and she was a strict, tough lady, and she was my mentor. She believed in me a lot, I must say. And I came to her office and said, listen, professor, listen, please, I give you credit for everything. Thank you, appreciate for everything, but I can't, I can't do it anymore. Please believe me. And she was listening to me like for like 10, 15 minutes. And then she said, okay, no, I listened to you. Did you do your homework, what I told you yesterday to do? Did you bring it with you? I said, Professor, listen, I don't even know what to tell you. And I can't even focus. I can't even, maybe you didn't get my question quite clear. Did you get your homework that I asked you to do? I said, she started to yell at me. She literally kicked me out of the office. And she said, like, listen, don't you ever again come back to me with the opinion like that. If she had said, listen, okay, no problem, because she was busy anyway, and she didn't have anything for me at that time anyway. If she had said, okay, no problem, thank you, bye bye, life goes on, I would have never finished that. That was once when I gave up on something. The other one was something in football. And then again, the life brought me back on the proper track, even on that, the other thing. But I'm saying how unpredictable life. And then after that, one day after another, I did a homework, and boom, 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 step after step, and I came to the PhD. I finished it when I was 43, so 5-6 years ago. It was tough. There's a lot of PhDs all around the world, but the ones that are actually being operational on the field as a coaches, not only at the universities, not that too many of us, right? So I'm happy. I'm happy with all that. Yeah.
And like, what was your PhD topic that you did on?
The topic was it was obviously football itself. The actual thesis was the PhD thesis was the analysis of the World Cup in South Africa that took place in 2010. I was doing the difference between the groups of the players, the five major groups of the according to the variables, technical variables on the field, the central defenders, fullbacks, defensive midfielders, offensive, and then the strikers, and then the analysis of the variables and the differences between them. What do they do? How do they behave? What are the major differences? Let's say for the scouting purposes, quite nice. What are the, even though by the common sense, that there's a difference between the central defender and the offensive midfielder, right? But still, what do the numbers say? What do the statistics say? What is the difference between those two major five positions on the field on the World Cup in South Africa? And it was a pretty demanding 200 pages work, and it took me a couple of years for that. And I was, as I said, finished it in 2013.
Definitely, definitely. And you like, do you think like the because you're so well read, you want to have more control on every aspect of the game? Although every coach wants to do that, but since you're more read, you would know even like you said, like need to know how that is happening on the field or why is it happening. So do you think like you focus on even more detail and maybe it troubles you a bit more?
Obviously, ambition. I still have a crazy, crazy big ambition to make something significant in Croatia. I was having all the major roles I could have. I wanna do that. Just not because of people around. I want to first of all, fulfill the talent that I was given, and I just want to actually make that happen. But The football itself, we have to be really careful here. Yes, there is explanation. There's always depth in football, but there's a lot of things. Everybody calls them, or people call them. I call them non-controllables. There's controllables you can have full control of. How you're going to prepare a team, what you're going to do with the players, what you're going to tell them, what you're going to. But there's like other things that are non-controllables, and those non-controllables are something which you have to prepare yourself to control when they come up and when they occur. And they do occur every once in a while. Rain, a hot, a heat, a referee, fans, a dog running on the pitch, unpredictable injury from the player. So all those things you cannot necessarily control, but you have to adjust yourself and prepare yourself to control them. That's why it's important to go deep into the football of the great importance. You want to go as deep as possible, and I'm probably going to, when the moment fits, write another book or something of all that. But it's complex. So the thing is, for example, the situation in Kuwait that I had, after Nepal, we played against Australia. A lot of bad moments went our way, and I couldn't control them. I just couldn't control them. It was we had the game against you guys 5 days before. The entire country was crazy happy because of that. Everybody saw us on the World Cup right away, and I knew how tough an opponent is coming in 5 days, and it just we couldn't. So a lot of those, for example, those things were not controllable for me, and I just couldn't find. Was it about me, or was it in general that you can't fight with that because Australia was preparing for 10 days to play against us, and we had literally 2 days after we got a recovery from Nepal game. We just weren't there, right? So it's a complex topic, the game itself. Unfortunately, the coach is being judged by the result mostly on a short run, on a short term. Unfortunately, especially when you're coaching a national team, when you're coaching a professional team, when you're academy director, when you're technical director, when you have those, let's say, more of a strategical roles, like a long-term roles, you're not being judged every single weekend, which gives you a right. And that's pretty much how I made myself, let's put a name, if you want to call it that way, because I did something on the long run. Yes, you lose a game against Australia. Yes, you lose a game here and there. And then the people say, he's a bad coach, or he's a good coach because he won a game, right? Which I completely or definitely don't agree with, because football, especially one game, it consists of a lot of things that are without your power of control, right? And then you're just being judged by something. But on the long run, everything pretty much evens out, everything balances out, and then you're there where you deserve to be, right? But as I say, I was always of a great, even now, and that's going to be until I'm alive. Just focusing on both practical things on the field, but all the theoretical field, the background of the football. Why is something what we see on the field?
Definitely. And you like you mentioned like how maybe some strategical role, like maybe a technical director or maybe a academy director will probably have more time to probably work with what they have and even like implement the philosophy in the longer run, probably in respect to the coaches. Like for you personally, since you have been in both the positions, which one do you prefer, being a TD or a coach?
I mean, listen, it depends. There's a bit of. I just wanted, even though I started as a young coach at 27 with the youth, but it's completely different to be coaching a national team or a professional club in Europe. There's a bit of a fire, that comes along with that. A bit of a pressure that comes along with that. I like to feel it, and I feel good in it. I can't quite say I was having all the roles. So to be honest with you, lately, out of the 5 phone calls that I'm getting for the next opportunity job, 3 of them for those long-term strategic roles as a sporting director or technical director, because I was doing those most of my life, being doing there for 20 years. But I wouldn't, depending. I just love football. We'll see where the life's going to take me, how the things are going to unfold. But yes, you have time to actually do something, depending on the country, depending on the environment. If there's a potential, if there's a short-term potential to make something, obviously, in coaching, there's a long-term potential in doing something, maybe in a TD role. But I can't quite say both things. It's football itself, overall. So everything interests me.
What okay, like this may be a very naive question. What attracts you to football?
I'm sorry.
What attracts you to football?
What attracts me to football?
Yeah.
I mean, your again explanation. What is a talent? How do you define a talent for something? A lot of things have been genetically given to you, right? And that's a proven fact. That's a biological fact. That's a neurobiological fact as well. And so the same thing, somebody has a talent for painting, somebody loves that, somebody has a talent for music. I always loved that in the beginning. I played that. I was living in the environment as Croatia is, where the football itself is really let's call it even a religion. You've seen our fans, you've seen our national team. It's really crazy. It goes even beyond the normal sometimes, right? And that's where you get this passion. And then again, this word that I just said at the end, a passion, the drive, without which you can't do anything. No matter how talented you are, no matter how you want to do something, if you don't have this crazy passion, this drive to actually do something every single day, you know how to say there's a talent that's going to take it to the top, but the passion and the personality was going to keep you on the top. And sometimes you see intelligent people, but they just don't have the ambition. They just like they do something and then they go and then wasted the talent that they have. So there's both things that you need to have. So what attracted me to the football is just this an environment in Croatia. I felt I do have a bit of a talent for more to be a leader. Let's put it this way: the guy that does the job as a on these various roles that you even brought up yourself, rather than the player myself. But the entire environment brought me to the football. I fell in love with it, and I can't even imagine doing something else than football.
Definitely. And you said like you spoke of talent, and which, and you, or in one of your earlier answers, you also said like how Dinamo Zagreb is one of the best teams of producing talent, and you have been there in that process, seen it. How does that happen? Like, how is it like they are producing? Like, for me, if you see like, although you said like you get some talents when you're born, which is maybe genetically passed down, interest, talents, and but I do think like even a country like Nepal has talents, like probably which is not maybe skilled enough, probably, or shaped well enough. Do you think like, or what do you think like, why do you think like Dinamo Zagreb produce so good players?
Uh, when we speak about talent, now we really go into the materia deeper. We speak about the talent. Talent. There's not a talent for football. The talents are not being placed in the body like general talents for basketball. It's rather a mix of abilities that were either given to you or not given to you. For example, if you're tall, 180 centimeters, that's a fact, right? So you can, with no matter what coaching, you cannot. Now I'm going to listen. I don't want. I'm going to get a better coach, and I'm going to be 2 meters high. No, this is not how it works. So you've been. This is not a talent, but this is ability that you've given, or this is a fact, with the mix of other things around, with you being this and this and this and this, together with being 2 meters high, you consider yourself to be a talented basketball player, right? So the same thing in football. There's not a definition, okay, he's a talented player. It's a mix. It's a rather mix of abilities that make you or don't make you a good soccer player. Here in Croatia, we do have certain genes throughout our history that are giving us some let's say ability for the softness of the touch, for the feeling, for the sense for the play, for game understanding, because we're social nations, liking to get together. I'm assuming you guys the same. uh, Still a lot of things happen on the streets. Still culture is there behind soccer. Some people rather want to be the soccer player than the president of the country. It's a motivation of some kind. And but that's not enough. And before I came to academy, we've had so many talented players. And when I like to say, they ended up playing in the Austria is just down the road. And we always didn't take them seriously before to be a soccer or football nation. Those talented players ended up playing in the third, fourth, fifth division in Austria. That means they didn't make it in the career, right? It needs to have a passion. It needs to have the personality. It has to have a drive. And the change that we've done together with the people I have chosen. First of all, that was my assignment. In the first 3 years as academy director, I was really, getting rid of the wrong people. When I say wrong people, that weren't, according to my expertise, able enough to be making the job properly. So I had to saying thank to them literally, and getting new people on. So 27 people left the academy, and 33 new people came on the academy in the 3 years, and that was my first job, to put the good people on the proper positions. And they, together with me, were building a network where we really scanned and really scouted every single little kid, not only in Croatia but in the area here as well. There couldn't be any kid on any kind of a meadow, any kind of a playground, not in Croatia, but in the entire Southeast Balkans, Europe, that meant something in football that we haven't known about it, right? So we made sure at the age of 10, 11, 12, 13, the latest, we're going to bring all the talented population. And when we say talented, talented in the football terms, so they're going to be having all these things, softness, feelings, a sense for the play, but they will have also the passion and the drive. That they're going to be I don't know, one of my last presentations I've had for one English virtual academy was, when they asked me the same question. Maybe I should have posted that picture for you now. When they asked me, like, what is the reason why Croatia did it what they did it, and then I showed them the photo of Modric with his head, being wrapped up like a band-aid, with a bloody head, with Mandzukic with his bloody head, and with Chorlika with his bloody head. Because people consider us to be the Brazilians of Europe. We play smooth football. We juggle with the ball, we joke around, we dribble with Allah. But the criteria number one is to have literally sometimes your bloody head, that you are going to take everything you need to do to put your foot down, to put your head down, to go against everything. Because when you get close to the top, it gets tougher and tougher. And if you don't have personality and drive that's going to keep you on there, you're going to quit. It's a little like that in life. There's going to be obstacles today for you, today for me. And then people just say, listen, I'm going to either deal with this obstacle and take care of it, however, take it, work with it, or skip it, or jump over it, or whatever. Or I'm going to say, listen, this is too hard. In Croatia, we have the kids that are talented in football, that they have the personality, and those ones that had the talent and they had a drive at the same time, made it. And so when a lot of delegations came to Dynamo, to me, to federation, asking about the recipe is, let's summarize it. Having a talented player with all the abilities that we said, that put together talent. They have to have the personality. You have to have a good coach, and a good coach also is being defined by certain variables. They also have to have not pro license only. Pro license is a license that gives you a legal right to work, that you're not a butcher or a baker, that you are a coach. But other than that, you have to have personality, also a drive, that you don't not a quitter, that you have a talent for the play, that you have a consistency, that you have your personality that's going to be either animation personality working with the kids, or competitive personality working with the adults later on, and that you're going to be an honest, humble, honest person that's going to be worrying only about the proper football material, not all, because obviously football, we know there's a lot of money involved, and sometimes people go wrong way. Together with a good program, you've seen my book. So talented player, talented coach program that I, together with my assistants, put together, that you just brought up a little while ago, which I think is something, what is a summary of everything we have been doing, and I think is laid out really nicely, and I think it's a good guide for every academy. And then another four and another five. So these three things, four and five, that you have to have competitive environment, especially after puberty, where kids are competing, because within this competition, they're going to be, again, they're going to be trying to be better and better and better and better. And within the internal competition within the team, and then the external competition within the league they compete in, they're going to climb up as high as one. And this is pretty much the simplifying of the how do we make it. So these five things: the talent, talented player, talented coach, program, and then the competition environment that we've had.
Definitely. And like how you said, like during your 3 years there, you had a lot of changes, and you bought in your philosophy and what you were asked to do, or what you wanted to see in the what changes you wanted to see. Ideally, like suppose if you are supposed to go into another uh, role with the same description, how long do you think will it take again for you to maybe develop something like that?
I mean, now listen, that was 15 years ago. I was not now what I am. I had obviously a lot less experience. It wouldn't take me now 3 years again. First of all, and then at that time, I didn't have a name. The way why a name? Because a name helps you to open the door easier. When Mourinho says something, it means wow. When somebody else saying the same exact 10 sentence, they're going to say, okay, that's normal, right? So it's not a big deal. So it's a fact, making a name, a reputation, so people are going to be actually treating you as somebody. Obviously, you have to be knowing what you're talking about. You have to have common sense and make sense. It wouldn't take 3 years. It would definitely take a lot less. I would say for one deeper analysis of the all responsible parameters that are required and that are needed to be within the system. I would say within 1 to 3 months you can analyze and you can pretty much, let's say, put together a plan, because not all the plans are working the same in Croatia, because we have this. In Nepal, maybe you guys have something else. In China, they have something else. In Russia, they have something else. In Kuwait, they also had something else. So I had to adapt. It wasn't working the same way, even though I'm quite satisfied with the work we've done in Kuwait, the way we play, the way we you have to know they have been suspended before I came for 3 years, and they haven't played any international matches. I literally didn't have any concrete body core of the team together. And I had to put together a team. Now you want to go to the World Cup. It doesn't work like that, and you know it. It needs a culture. It needs a hard work. And I was overall happy to what we've done, but obviously expectations and our in some situations unrealistic. And I was giving, even though we had millions of talks, I had millions of presentations, people talking, and everything made. And I came to approval on the country because people said, "Yeah, listen, this is how it is." I mean, just the Croatia. Just quickly I don't know, you probably know that, but we ended up being the runner-up in Russia. Everybody knows about it, being the second, right? But the same team of Croatia, that's the same players of Croatia, the last 10 years, we haven't done anything, the previous 10 years. So 2010 in South Africa, we didn't even qualify. 2012 for the Euro in Poland and Ukraine, we got knocked out in a round robin phase. In the World Cup in Brazil, 2014, we got knocked out in a round robin. In 2016 in France in the Euro, we got kicked out in a round of 16. So we haven't the same team. It took 10 years for Luka Modric and other guys to make something. So if it took 10 years for Luka Modric to make something, then we might as well take a couple of years of somebody else, other players, Kuwaiti or other, no. Listen, we are, and my good friend Tom Bayer from Japan, we get along extremely well, and I appreciate his work greatly. And he does the same thing to me. He says, listen, some nations are thinking they're just one coach away from the World Cup, and this doesn't work. There's obviously non-controllables which can go sometimes positive way, because you even win the game sometimes you didn't deserve. That happens sometimes also. But on the long route, and as I said, everything evens out, everything balances out, and you're there where you got to be. So Kuwait, and I'm more into the stability of the personality. Listen, let's work with kids. Let's work with the base. Let's put the national teams, the youth national teams in place. Let's put the proper coaches. Let's put the proper talent, proper program, competitive environment, and then we're gonna even hire a good experienced coach that's gonna be running a Nepal national team or something, and then doing it right. So it's not, even though it seems easy, everybody knows about you when you're a runner-up in the world, but nobody knows what we've been through in the youth national teams. Nobody knows how many games we've lost at the age of U15 with the same national team, right? And then you climb up on these experiences and you do it. And obviously now with the knowledge and with the experience, it wouldn't take me 5 years again to do something. You can see things how they go because you have a big of experience now. But it's a hard work. It's a hard work.
So like, do you, like, for you personally, do you think experience is better than education, or does it go hand in hand?
No, no, it has to be both. It has to be both. Obviously, this is the, for example, and I had a metaphor on a lot of my presentations. There's like street fighters, right? People that fight for whatever, and there's people that go on the official karates and taekwondos and these, and they're having the black belt stand days, whatever. And then you have the formal education in karate, but the guy that survived on the streets, he has an experience. So he doesn't have any belt. He doesn't have any credentials in the official karate, but he survived on the streets, right? If he survived. Obviously the education, the platform of the education, so a lot of the ground, why some things work the same way they do, is important. But if you don't apply it, people that get the diploma on the university, they think the life has been over, and they have diploma now, everything is going to be the easy. But no, the real struggle, as you probably know yourself, the real struggle is just about to start. The day you get diploma, now you get on the streets, and then you're getting on the street fights. How to literally, not literally survive, but how to survive in this world, because everybody wants to make a signature in this world. So it's equal important. Some people don't have the opportunity. Some people finish the education and then don't have the opportunity to be going, working on the practical world. And some people never had the opportunity to actually finish the education, but they made it as a people. If you have a privilege to have both, to actually have the education background and then being placed in a proper environment where you're going to actually brush it up and then make yourself the expert in something, operationally, it's obviously a lot better.
Definitely. And you said like how before you had joined Kuwait, they were banned from like playing. And what attracted you towards Kuwait? Because you were coming from Europe, where probably you are still very well known. Why Kuwait, where probably you had to start from ground zero?
But listen, it was they. I'm telling you, I swear to God, I came with my agent. I was flying to Kuwait, and I told him, listen, I don't know what has to happen that we stay there. And I just went on a talk, and I thought to myself, listen, this is not going to work for whatever reason. I didn't know anything about the country, and I came there, and I met three people that I was having a meeting with, and they were so persuasive. They were so ambitious, which is such a passion with such a positive drive. Financially, I was always, well, not always. I told you I wasn't always well off, but when I started to pick up and working professionally here in Croatia, it's a well paid jobs, and then obviously so I wasn't chasing the money. I wasn't chasing the contract. I just I said to myself, listen, and they allowed me to bring 8 people with me, my assistants, which I said, listen, I'm going to help my coaches. I'm going to bring a couple of my coaches with me, and then listen, let's see what we can do. Right? I didn't have anything else at that time. It's a national team. It's a qualifiers in Asia. Okay. I didn't work in Asia before that. We were traveling all around with Kuwait. I was getting an extra experience. I was never a head coach of a national team before. They were persuasive, had some plans, had some ideas. Listen, um, to make an impact, to make a change was obviously a lot easier because, as you said, ground zero was there, and then whatever you do, it's going to be significant, at least to some point, right? And then I said to myself, 2-year contract. Listen, it's not going to be. Even though I wanted to finish the contract till the end, but it came out those 3 men, first of all, in the beginning to begin with, weren't the guys that I was communicating later on, and then the expectations from the publicity, public and media and people in the federation was something completely unrealistic. I even think that now you can't. I mean, you can do whatever you want to do, but to have the expectations to go to the World Cup in 2022 without having the professional league in your, I'm not saying you want to be successful in the qualifiers, you want to do something, you want to win the game, you want to improve, but if you don't have a professional league in your country and you want to go to the World Cup, this doesn't exist. None of the teams just find me a team or whatever World Cup lately in the last 100 years, or well, before maybe 100 years could so, but like last 20, 30 years, especially now in Qatar or even next year in the US, all the national teams that are going to be even getting close to there, they have to have the base, they have to have the groundwork, they have to have the competition. What we said before, there has to be competitive environment that's going to actually, try to raise you higher and higher, and it was unrealistic. Even though we won some important games against Saudi Arabia, against Emirates, which is like competitive for them in the area. Overall, everybody calls me, the people agents around. Listen, you guys did a great job. Why did you get fired losing to Australia? I said, listen, I don't know. I don't know, but life goes on. Life goes on. It's an experience from every aspect, the personal level. I met some great guys, some great people. I must tell you, really, a lot of people I met there was really nice. Within the federation as well, people outside. When I left Kuwait for the next couple of days, when I was still finishing the paperwork, they were cheering on me, saying, "Coach, why did you leave? Why did you?" Nice country, good people overall. You cannot generalize things everywhere. Anywhere in Croatia, there's good people, there's bad people. The same thing probably in Kuwait, probably in Nepal as well, right? But generally, the people I was working with were quite a few of them were passionate, wanted to have the sincere wish to actually make something. But as I say, there's controllables and uncontrollables, and those not controllables you can't control.
Like I have two questions from what you have said, and I'll ask about the Kuwait one and probably close the chapter on Kuwait right now. What is the biggest takeaway, because it was your first national team job? What is the biggest takeaway from the Kuwait experience?
Uh, Again, it was the adaptation of myself to the circumstances. When you said, would you need 3 years? I didn't have 3 years in Kuwait to do something. I had literally that's exactly what I had. I had 2 3 months, 1 2 2 months to actually analyze and then to put the work in place. And I think we've moved them quite big because they have talent. They have talent, talented players and passionate players. I've taken the part where I'm trying to quickly, as quick as possible, as good as possible, adapt myself to the circumstances where I come into, and then to bring the team or environment or the club or the nation higher as fast as possible, right? And this is pretty much the fuel formula for all the coaches, coming to the unknown environment that they come to, and then trying to diagnose the problems as fast as possible, and then trying to lift them up as fast as possible for the short run successes, and never mind for the long run successes. So one big experience within the Arab culture, because I think they have a great potential playing with all the countries around. They're really improving a lot. I must quite honestly say it will take some time for them to pick up with the Europe, because in Europe it's really you probably traveled around, you've seen how it is. It's professional. It's really getting so deep into professionalism from the early ages. Never mind the national team. National team. I mean, what are we talking about, right? So they are investing, and I like it. And I see a lot of countries, Qatar, Emirates, even Saudi Arabia, having the strong league. Iraq, a lot of good talent. I'm talking about Arab Gulf countries, the GCC, which I communicated with a lot and had made a lot of friends from the area. Didn't have this much of experience, even though we played the matches again, as I said, against Nepal and other nations as well. So I'm getting the more and more experience. But you know what? Having the 20-year long experience in Europe, where it's a professional, literally war here on that top level football, gives me the right to actually be able to judge the level of the quality in the countries, even like such as Asia, right? But a good experience on the personal level as well, meeting people, getting to know a lot of people, and I'm happy because I when we had two friendlies against Nepal in the previous March before the qualifiers, I couldn't believe how many fans came around, and I even said it in the newspapers in Kuwait one day. Listen, I'm feeling like I'm in Nepal. I've never been to Nepal, right? Right before we were supposed to go to play the game against you away, I left, and people in even in Kuwait, some people told me, "Oh, listen, coach, you shouldn't have said that you're playing." Like, and I said, "Listen, I'm coming to the training pitch, and there's Nepal training game. There's like 10,000 Nepali people supporting in Kuwait." I was like, I couldn't believe it, right? So I like the passion. I like the support, the identity with the team. And as I say, always when I saw you from Nepal, I was really happy to talk to you.
Definitely. And like other question that I had from that was like you said like how if a country doesn't have a premier league football league. So like it becomes harder, almost next to impossible to maybe achieve your goals in terms of your national goals. For you, is there any particular magic number of the amount of games a player or a team should play in a season?
Uh, when you said impossible, well, nothing is impossible, right? But it makes it hard, obviously, to especially when we talk about the World Cup. I'm not talking about the winning a game here or two, improving in general, but actually to to go to World Cup, unless all your players are not playing in your amateur league, not your, but in general, any country's amateur league, it's going to be close to impossible to go to the World Cup, right? I think everybody, everybody, it's a common sense, it's a common logic. Numbers of the games, depending on the age, depending on the target. But some leagues are having 20 teams, 16 teams, 10 teams. Then they have 4 rounds around here and there. But for the players, when they're in the youth, let's say the U17 and the U19 players, let's put it like this: they should be playing the U17 top level professional development target should be around 35 to 45 games minimum a year, which are competitive. The U19s should be 40 to 55 minimum again. I know, and we here have even more. It can't be too much because you still have to train and practice and work on things. You just can't play. It's not the NBA. You're going to be playing every 3 days and just having a rest. So let's say minimum 40 for the U17s, minimum 50 for the U19s. It could go up until the 55, 60 for the U17s, and even 70 for the U19s, which is too much for me. But let's say some kind of an optimum would be 40, 45 for these and 50, 55 for these. That includes friendlies, includes national team games, includes cup games, includes development games, league games. Something what you, let's say, if you have 55 games, that pretty much means every weekend, because there's 52 weeks in a year, every weekend you have a game, right? Sometimes you have 2 weeks in a game, sometimes you're here and there, but generally that should be an optimum average number for that.
Definitely, definitely. And yeah, over here also, like in Nepal, there's a new league starting, and I think it's from mid of April. Like it's kind of in the format of kind of like MLS format is where you don't, because it's not sustainable. So they don't want to have relegation and promotion
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
because you then won't find
They don't, or they
sponsors.
do?
They don't.
I don't.
So yeah, so in that way, I wanted to know like what would be like very very appropriate, like kind of games to actually measure a player's development.
Well, listen, in senior, if you talk about this league, obviously I'm counting all the friendly games as well. I'm not counting on the official games. So with the friendlies, with the preparation, with the cup games, with the national team for the football. Well, in Croatia, we had a lot of national team games because all Italian players were playing national team. So I'm including that. But let's say if there's I don't know, like the 20 teams, so that's like 38 games, right? 38 rounds, 38 games, and then on top of that, you're still going to have a couple of preparation games, couple of friendlies, couple of tournaments. So he's going to come to 50 games probably.
Yeah, definitely, definitely, yeah. So, we have last few questions before we wrap up, and one of them is like we touched on your book. Did you always intend to write a book, or did it happen like like spontaneously or something like that?
Sorry for the cough. I just speak so
No, 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 no.
my throat dry. Uh, no, I was a technical director of the federation, and I literally wanted, I felt it because I was accumulating something for like a 15, 20-year-old experience, accumulating a lot of things that I wanted to put together on the paper. However, I was a technical director, and none of them before they were there recently left something to Croatia, left something to the football, and I said to myself, "Listen, I'm not going to leave federation before I put together a curriculum that was later on approved by the board, and today is an official document in Croatia. Official, however you put it, official, unofficial, but people do follow that. And what I'm happy when I hear people from Nepal, and it's not only Nepal, literally worldwide, all over the place. Everybody's referring to the book, and everybody's saying it's a Bible. There's only one Bible, especially for us Christians, but but I know what you mean, and I'm happy to be. We compared to such an important book, and I know what they mean when they say Bible, so I'm really grateful for that. But it was an emotion from the inside, but it was also a responsibility for me as a technical director to leave something to my country. And again, it turned out to be not only for the country, but even wider.
Definitely. And I have final two questions before we wrap up. And do you have any particular memory of yourself in terms of football that stands out the most?
Uh, I
Any
mean, quite.
event, anything, like
I mean,
any
quite a few of them. Maybe one intriguing moment that a lot of even the Spanish TV when they came to Croatia when they had interview about Luka Modric. I was his coach. I was lucky to be his coach for a year when he was U19. I was the head coach of the Dinamo Zagreb second team, having the most talented 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old ones, and he was there among them. And he was a prospect. He was a talented player, but he wasn't at that time. For me, as I said, I was 20 years ago. I was a lot younger. So when people say, "Listen, how did you not know?" I had less experience and less knowledge to that. He had always problem with his hair, as he does. He's even now, his hair. And then he never, every single pass he was just about to make, he had to go like this, so he's gonna see the ball and see the. And I like one day I was really sick and I was his coach and I said, listen, Luca, tomorrow I don't want to see you on a training if you don't cut your hair. And he started to mumble something, coach, blah, 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 blah. I said, listen, Luca, I mean, I can't see you like either get this stripe on a head or something. You can't like this, your head, you can't play. Blah, blah, blah. So there's the next day coming in the locker room, we're having a meeting and he didn't cut his hair. He had his hair. And so I forgot about it. So we got on the field. And again, I reminded it again. I said, listen, so I brought him over. I said, listen, did I tell you? Coach, I mean, I listen, I don't believe. Luca, I don't want to see you tomorrow on a training if you don't cut your hair. So the next day and comes in the morning, we're sitting in the locker room. There's like having players, I mean, all the talented players around, right? And he didn't cut his hair, right? And I'm having a meeting and I completely forgot about it. And I'm having a meeting and I spotted him over there on the side. And I just say, listen, did I tell you to cut your hair and not to come? He says, coach, the hairdresser salon didn't work today. And there was on the side those plastic bottles from the liter and a half, like there, or like water on the table we've had. And I grabbed one of them and I smacked it against the wall. I said, listen, I'm not going to now say completely in English what I was going to say. Listen, you have 3 hours to come back. And then he came back like with his hair cut like in the army, right? And even and that moment we got friendly. Now today we are friends. And even years after that, when we saw each other, he says, "Listen, Romeo," and he's not calling me coach anymore. He calls me Romeo. Romeo, listen, do you know that you and the army, because in the army you have to go to the army in Croatia, we had to go at that time. Do you know you and the army were the only ones that got my hair? I said, listen, I didn't know that, but I know how it went these 3 days, and I couldn't stand it for longer. And I said, listen, sorry, I smacked the bottle against the wall there. No, 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 it was good, it was good, it was good. So that was one adventurous moment where we got even friendlier after this. And that was the second team of Dinamo. And you only see how important that is when you come close to the top. I grew up ever since that was 20 years ago. I probably wouldn't go, obviously, that far, even though it was a plastic bottle and I didn't smack it against anybody. It was just against the floor. Being angry, showing, or other players, because they all had professional contracts, and showing them responsibility for the game, that you have to give your best, give yourself to come to the top. But that's, let's say, one of the moments that I've lived that always comes to my mind when I see him playing nowadays, right?
Definitely. So I just had one more question from your answer. You said like how you had to go, everyone has to go to the army. Do you think that aids in the process of maybe playing or developing a nature? Maybe like you said, like how you fight, like in your presentation you had all of them with the uh, stitch or the
Yeah, yeah,
band-aid. Do you think
yeah,
that
yeah.
that aids in the mentality, developing the mentality maybe of the tougher side of the football other than just the touch? What you
I
would
mean,
say?
they always, when they see Croatia playing, everybody, people comment that they say, "Listen, you guys play nice," but everybody's saying that you guys play with heart, because you can't win the game without a heart. Necessarily the fact that you go to the army for 10, because it was a mandatory regular, like it wasn't any kind of a professional, it was just a regular mandatory army service that we all been through. I've been through for 10 months myself. Yes, it toughens you, and when you're a team, it toughens you up a bit. It brushes you up a bit. I think the fact that war recently has been over, a lot of wounds still there. Everybody, even in my bigger family, everybody lost somebody from the on our side, on the Serbian side. Even though things are calm now, we have a lot of friends there. We talk, we communicate, we work on. I have millions of friends in Serbia, and they have millions of friends here. So everything has changed. Well, everything, but there's still the scars and the marks and the wounds from the recent past, which was 25 years ago, where somebody or a lot of people have lost somebody within the relatives within the in the war, because it was brutal, it was really bad. And the fact that we have been well, let's put it, the victim in the war, how it started, it gave us this passion, this pride, this engine from the deep inside. And the fact that you go to your army, defending, or not defending physically, but being the part of your army, could have attributed a bit to give you this extra boost and extra drive. But overall, I mean, you got to see the kids in Croatia when they're 15, when they play for Croatia, when they're singing the national anthem. Even though it slowly disappears, I must say, I was a director of the national team. It wasn't like that before. They were really with the heart. Now they're kind of enjoying to be in Croatia, because Croatia is Croatia. And now, listen, I'm playing for the youth Croatian national team, but it takes still a lot of time for you to actually make something on a senior national level. But yeah, overall, every aspect of these things after the wartime makes us and toughens us up. Makes us stronger to be stronger on the field, because this band-aid that I told you, it's a really significant part. Not because you're Croatian only, because your country suffered the war, but you're like that. Your mentality like that. You were born like that. But also this environment where we grew up in, being exposed to all these information all around Croatia, it helps. It does help, right? So to form a mentality, a fighting mentality, it's not easy, but when you have it together with the talent that we have, it gives you a privilege to be what you are.
Definitely. So we'll wrap it up with one final question, and with the amount of experience you have under your belt all over the world, if you had to give a piece of advice to a young coach who's just starting out, what advice would you give that coach?
What would I tell him? I would tell him, listen, don't give up. You're going to come to a lot of, as I said today, you're going to come to a lot of obstacles. Believe me, I myself, let's say, you can say now I did something in the world, and I still haven't done what I want to do. I still want to continue every single day, yesterday, today, tomorrow. As obstacles, it gets tougher and tougher. And if you believe in yourself, and it's not a quote, it's not a just a sentence to say. I have literally never seen anything big that somebody did in the world that haven't gone through some kind of a tough times. Like if you win a lottery and you win a couple of $1 million, it's not a big thing. It's a luck, right? If somebody left, grandfather gave you and left, for you to have the land, blah, 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 it's not a hard work. It's a luck that you've been given for that reason. But if somebody made something significantly big in the world, they had a tough life. I don't mean necessarily tough life. They had to have a tough moments in their life to overcome, go through, pass, and then at the end, they got what they deserved. So if there's a young coach, with the potential, with the talent, with the intelligence, with the drive, they will come in a stage. And I gave up twice. I told you, once I gave up on the master's degree when somebody else, grabbed my hand and lifted me up and said, listen, no, go, even yelled at me. But also a significant prove for all of us that there's always friends nearby, because when you fall down, there's going to be somebody else. Maybe sometimes they're helping you and saying, listen, come on, raise up, stand up, let's move on. And the second time, I also gave up one time in soccer. I haven't told you about this one, but nevertheless, it was one time in soccer. I also had one moment, 2003, that was where I also was fed and sick and tired of everything. I thought to myself, listen. And again, there was a friend of mine who literally gave me a phone call out of the blue in the middle of the night. And I think right now it was just a pure luck, but it wasn't a pure luck. It was probably meant to be. It was some kind of a destiny for me not to be leaving. But I showed, and I those two moments, I remember when I gave up, but somebody else helped me. And then ever since after that, whenever I come to the stage where I'm feeling, I have 3 kids right now, I'm trying to teach them that. Whenever I come to the stage where something doesn't come easy, because now I'm climbing on the ladder and it's getting closer to the top, and a lot of good people are there on the top. So you're fighting with the best guys in the world now, right? And you don't give up. You don't give up. So that's my advice. Don't get mellow. Don't get soft, disappointed. Climb up, get back up on from your knees on and carry on. And then and result is gonna come. You're gonna definitely 100%. You're gonna get it. If not tomorrow, one day somebody sees. A lot of people see on the planet what you do. I also believe somebody else see that from above what we do. So it's gonna come along. Don't give up.
Definitely, and I think that is just not only for a coach but general life. What you have
In
said,
general life,
even to
exactly,
any
exactly.
walks of life, like any walk. So on that note, Romeo, thank you so much for talking to me and giving me almost 1 hour of your time. And hope to talk to you again soon. Hope to read your book, maybe second part, which you probably will write. If
If I
I don't
do,
know,
I
is
let you
this
know if
a
I do. It was
okay?
a
Sure,
privilege,
and
and big regards to all people in Nepal. Really a privilege to be talking to you.
sure. Thank you so much, and
Thank you.
take care.